Howdy, folks. Mr. Reardon here. I'd like to walk you through the way that you should format a document according to the MLA conventions as we use them here at Paly. As you watch this video, you should have in front of you, whether on another screen or next to this one or even on paper, a copy of the MLA checklist that has 8 requirements. We're going to be walking through those requirements one at a time from the top to the bottom as we format this document correctly. You should keep that checklist nearby, whether digitally or again on paper, because it will be very helpful to you throughout your time at Paly and beyond. So let's jump in here. The first requirement is that the heading contains all required elements and is not in the document header. So I'm going to talk about that second piece first. Any document in Google Docs has this thing called a header, which you access by double clicking at the top here. And you'll see this little bar show up that says header and then different first page and options. That's the header. You should never put the heading in the header. Those are two totally different things. So we're going to put the heading outside the header. It's going to go right here. So this person, they use some kind of heading that maybe they were told to do in the past, or they just sort of wrote it on there because it seemed like the right thing to do, but they didn't follow the right format for the heading at Paly. So we're going to redo this. You can do last name, comma, first name, or first name, comma, first name, last name with no comma. Either one is totally fine. The last name I personally think is better. Last name first. So I'm going to do sample Jessica. The second thing in the heading is the teacher's name. Let's say the student's in my class. So Mr. Reardon. Sure you include this little title bit here, Mr., Mrs., etc. Then the next thing should be the class that the essay is written for or the paper is written for. Be sure you actually write out the whole class name, right? Abbreviation could suggest indifference or laziness even. You don't want that. You don't want to be perceived that way by your reader. So you need to make sure you actually spell it out. AP, English, Language, and Composition. And then, so if you're in English 9A and you're watching this, you would write English 9A. If you're in English 10A, etc. Whatever the course is actually called is what you should write there. And then the class period. So let's just say this person is in period 3. So I'll say period 3. And then the date. You should use the international way of writing the date as opposed to the American way. So you put the day of the month first. I'm going to say, just as an example here, we don't want that bold or underlined. 19 November 2024. All right. So that is a correct heading. That meets the requirements. That is sufficient. If you look at the checklist, you're going to see a teeny tiny example in like size 5 font of this exact heading there. So you can just copy that if you don't want to go back and watch this piece of the video. All right. The second requirement here is that the entire paper is written in Times New Roman size 12 font with nothing bolded or underlined. All right. So right now this whole paper appears to be in Arial 11. We've also got some bolding and underlining going on here on this title. That's not going to work. That's not meeting the requirements. So what I'm actually going to do is select everything. That is Control A or Command A on Mac, Control A on a Chromebook. So that selects everything on the whole paper. And then I want to change the font by clicking on this little menu here. It's in Arial now. I want to change it to Times New Roman. You might have to like scroll down a little bit to find Times New Roman on your computer if you don't use it often, but it's there. Okay. We need to change the font size to 12. That's separate. If your whole paper is already 11, then you can just click the button and it'll change to 12, or you can actually type in the numbers 1, 2 in that box and it will change it to size 12. No, nothing bold or underlined. We don't do any bolding or underlining at all in MLA format. Many years ago, you might have underlined a title, but we use italics or quotation marks for that now, depending on what the thing is. Italics for longer works like novels and movies and album titles and things, and then quotation marks for shorter works, a chapter in a book, a song on an album, the title of a short story in a collection, etc. But no underlining or bolding ever. So we're going to unbold this. I'll click here to unbold it once I've selected it, and then click the little U to underline it. And then this essay is now all in Times New Roman size 12 font. No bolding or underlining. It is meeting the requirement number 2 on the checklist. All right, number 3, paper is double spaced throughout, including the heading and between paragraphs. So again, the best thing to do here is to select everything. So I'm going to say Command A, since I'm on a Mac, Control A on Windows and Chromebook. Then I'm going to click this little button up here. It's got a little arrow looking up and down and then a hamburger next to it. You click on that, you'll get this little menu, and then you want to change it from single or whatever else it might be to double. And also make sure none of these things here are checked. You don't want to add space before or after the paragraph. So now this is almost all the way double spaced. Everything here is double spaced, but we've got extra space here between the heading and title and between the title and the first paragraph. Neither of those is okay. We have to get rid of that space. It has to be double spaced all the way through on the whole paper. All right, now the double spacing here looks good. We don't need to worry about spacing anymore. The third requirement has been met. Number 4 is the last name and page number are in the upper right-hand corner and half an inch from the top edge. So you're supposed to have the last name and page number up here hanging out, and we don't have it right now. So let's do that. The best way to do that is to click Insert, and then you go down to Page Numbers. It's a little over halfway down. And then you click on the option that's in the upper left side. So I'm going to click on that, and a number is going to show up. This is in the header that we just talked about a second ago. That's fine. That's where it's supposed to be. So now I took the cursor. The cursor might have been here over on the right side of the one, but I want to move it over to the left side. And then I want to type, if this were my paper, I would type my last name, but it's a student paper. It's Jessica Sample's paper. So I want to type her last name, which is Sample. So that's what I'm going to do. Sample. And then you want one space, and that's all. No commas, no punctuation, no emojis, no anything, right? Just one space between the last name and page number. All right, that's it for the last name and page number. That looks good. It does have to be half an inch from the top edge, which it will do by default. If it looks too far, though, you can always check it with these markers over here on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see each line is half an inch, and there's a line there that you can't see because it's a sort of at the margin. So that's that's another half inch. That's another half inch. That's another half inch, right? So you can always check and make sure. If it looks pretty close, then you're good. All right, number 5, paragraphs are indented. So an indentation is just a movement of the first line of a paragraph in about half an inch. Indentation shares a root with words like dentist and dental, which means tooth or teeth in Latin. And so, You think of it like you are taking a little tooth or a little bite out of each paragraph. So click that. I just hit tab one time after putting my cursor right there at the front of the paragraph. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to find where the next paragraph starts. It's actually right here. Tab. I'm going to keep looking here. Looks like this is the next paragraph. These are some long paragraphs since this was an essay written for AP English Language. Tab. And then our last paragraph here is to close out his speech. That's clearly a conclusion. So tab. One more time. Now all 4 paragraphs in this essay have been indented. So that meets requirement 5. Requirement 6 is that the margins are exactly 1 inch on all sides. So to check the margins, which you should always do, you just click File, and then you go down to Page Setup, which is the second to last option. Click, and then you're going to see several boxes here, top, bottom, left, and right. You have to make sure they all say 1. They shouldn't say 0.5 or any other weird number. It should be 1. You can do this quickly. You can change them all quickly by clicking on the first one and changing it to 1 by clicking the 1 on your keyboard. Then you just use tab to navigate between them. I just hit tab 1, tab 1, tab 1. Okay. Now all the margins are 1 inch, which is the requirement. All right, number 7, title is centered. This, I Have a Dream essay, is the title. Right now, it's aligned on the left margin with the other stuff in the essay. It definitely shouldn't be. Titles should be centered. So I'm just going to select the title, and then I'm going to go up here and click the Center Align button. Click, and there we go. I also am kind of weirded out by the fact that this title isn't capitalized, so I'm going to fix that. I Have a Dream essay. And I Have a Dream as a title, so I'm going to put that in quotation marks. There we go. That's better. Now, requirement 8, everything but the title is aligned on the left margin. Now, this is usually the default in Google Docs. So if you, this shouldn't be an issue, but it's worth checking. So you should be able to imagine the drawing of a straight line from the top of the paper to the bottom of the paper, and all of the lines except the indented ones and the title should be exactly the same distance from your straight line down the left margin. If you have part of your paper that looks, for example, like this, right, where each line is not the same distance from your imaginary straight line, then you haven't left aligned the body of your paper or all the parts of your paper that should be, and so you need to fix that. All right, that's all 8 requirements. I'm going to say one more thing, and that is that sometimes, often actually, the up here in the header, you will see that the font size isn't the same as the rest of your paper. Even if you've already changed everything to Times New Roman size 12, you have to go up here and click into the header and select this and change it separately from whatever it is to Times New Roman 12, because it's technically like a different part of the paper. If you forget to do that and a little piece of your paper is not in Times New Roman size 12 because of that, then that's an issue and you wouldn't be meeting requirement 2 anymore. And so you should not make that error. You have to go back and fix it. All right, so that's how you get a paper in strong, solid, perfect MLA format. I recommend now that you practice yourself either with one of your own papers, or there will be a link on the Paly MLA website for you to make your own copy of this same essay and practice putting something in MLA format if you don't have your own paper to practice with. All right, that's it, folks.